What's Passover about? Isn't that a good question? It's such a massive deal for Israel when it appears, isn't it? It changes their calendar. They're meant to remember it and keep it forever. Now, how long is forever? It's forever, isn't it? That's a long time. This is something so important that it's to be passed on to each and every generation. It's tied to who God is and the people that they are meant to be. It's foundational for everything. So what's Passover about? I'm going to try and summarize it this morning with three kind of different but linked words, and I've chosen nice long words because I like long words. Deliverance, purification, and redemption. So firstly, deliverance. Passover is about deliverance. That means it's about God saving Israel. Deliverance, a fancy word, it means when you're saved from something. The people of Israel, I should have said this before the reading, but they were in slavery in Egypt. They were suffering under Pharaoh's cruelty. They weren't free. That's what slavery is, isn't it? You're not free to go where you want or do what you want. You have to go where your master tells you and do what they tell you to do. In fact, just a generation before, Pharaoh ordered state-sanctioned murder of any Israelite baby boy. He said to throw them in the Nile. So Israel was oppressed and persecuted. They were crying out to God in their misery. The book of Exodus, it's a great book, well worth reading. It's a story of how God delivers them. That's not delivering them like you deliver a letter. It's delivering them like saving them. He saves them. He delivers them from this slavery. But more than that, God saves them from the judgment that he pours out on Egypt. Now, if you were to read the chapters before this in Exodus, if you read about the plagues that God sent, because this comes just before the final plague, the 10th plague, with every plague, every time, whatever's happening to the Egyptians, the Israelites are spared. They're protected from the destruction. Now, the very event of the Passover, and the meaning for the Hebrew word apparently, Passover, is Pesach, or Pessah. It remembers how God protected his people from the destroying angel, the same way that he protected them from all the other plagues. Every firstborn child in Egypt would die, but every house where the blood of a lamb was painted on the lintel was protected. It was passed over. God saved them from destruction. And more even than that, Passover is about God delivering his people from spiritual darkness. Verse 12, it's one of these little verses. It's quite easy to miss in the reading, but maybe you noticed it. It mentions God's judgment against the gods of Egypt. Now, if you know your ancient history as well, I know some of you have done Egypt at school, you'll know that the Pharaoh was a divine figure. They said he was descended from the gods. He was kind of a god himself. And so it's clear that there's a spiritual aspect to Israel's suffering. Now remember Moses' request to Pharaoh. We know it from the musicals and the films. God says, "Let my people go." But what we don't often remember is why. Why was Pharaoh to let God's people go? So they could go and worship God. That's what the whole thing was about, wasn't it? Let my people come and worship me. And Pharaoh wouldn't. Because he was kind of saying, no, they're mine. They should worship me and my gods. I get to say who's in charge. I'm the boss. So God delivers his people from false gods and spiritual oppression. Passover is about deliverance. But secondly, that gives you an idea of how long we should be here. Secondly, Passover is about purification. It's about making something clean, about making something holy. Now, holy means set apart for God. It means fit for God. It means suitable for his use. So the sacrifice of the lamb becomes something sacred. That's why, if any of it was left till the morning, they weren't supposed to eat it, because it'd become, in a way, it'd become holy. But through eating this meal, Israel was invited to participate in that sanctity. This lamb became holy and they got to eat it. They're invited to share in God's holiness. He's washing away all the Egyptian uncleanness, all that spiritual darkness. He's making them something holy, something clean. It's why they're told, and again, this is one of those things you're like, I don't really know what that's about. When you read it, they're told so strongly, and it is really strong, isn't it, that they're not to use any yeast. Now, do we have any bakers here this morning? What do you do if you want your bread to rise? Use yeast, don't you? And then everyone... I just had on my phone pop up the other day a little memory, and it was like Easter Day 2020. It was just a picture of my desk with a microphone and a screen, lockdown. Dear me. You put the yeast in. Everyone did sourdough through lockdown, didn't they? That's why. So you put the yeast in and it makes it rise. But Israel's told, don't put the yeast in, or leaven in the older translations. Now, partly, this is a sign of the urgency that they're to display. They don't have time to wait for yeast to work in bread. You can't start your sourdough. There's no time for you to wait for the 7th generation of bread until you get that really nice tangy. There's no time. The same way that they show their trust in God's promised deliverance by dressing ready to travel. That's why they sort of tuck their clothes up and get ready. Get your coat on, get your shoes on, get ready to go. And the whole meal that they eat, the bitter herbs, maybe cabbage or salad, lettuce, that kind of thing. They're eating the same food as nomadic people traveling through the wilderness. So what's on the menu is a sign of their faith, as if God has already saved them. It's as if we're already out in the wilderness, as if you've already got us out of Egypt. So partly, the yeast is just like there's no time for yeast. Bake your bread without yeast. It's a sign that you believe God is already saving you. But there's something else going on with the yeast, something to do with corruption. If you read the commentaries and listen to podcasts and things, you'll get a few different theories on exactly what that is. But it's something to do with impurity. In avoiding that yeast, it's a symbol of how they're to put all that aside. The sacrificed lamb doesn't only save them from destruction, it purifies them. It makes them clean. It makes them, as a people, suitable to be in God's presence when he takes them to be with him. Passover is about purification. But thirdly, kind of saving the best till last, Passover is about redemption. Now, this word redemption, it links to both of the others that we've looked at, deliverance and purification. Because this word redemption is about paying the price. Like we were singing in the song just before, it's about paying the price to release someone from slavery. It's about God buying for himself a people. It's about him buying them out of slavery. So that means it's about him making them in a very special way his. They're there, they're sort of owned by the Egyptians, and he pays a price, he redeems them, and he makes them his. He buys them for himself. And you see the impact of this, because after this, after the Exodus, Israel is not to worship any other gods. Why is that? It's because the Lord God alone is their God. He's delivered them from worshipping anything or anyone else. They've been freed from slavery and brought into his kingdom. And unlike Pharaoh, this God is not cruel. He is slow to anger. He is abounding in steadfast love. After this, Israel is told to keep themselves holy. So they're made holy and they're told to keep themselves holy, or just to be holy, because the Lord their God is holy. He purifies them so that they can be with him, so that they can be his special, treasured possession, to have his name. Redemption, you see, is not about God buying something so he can put it in a cupboard somewhere and know that he owns it. God isn't like, you get some rich people like that. Thankfully, not all rich people, but some rich people who just kind of want to own stuff so that they know they own it, so that no one else can own it, so they can feel big about themselves. God's not like that. He buys Israel for himself so that he can enjoy them, so that they can enjoy him. Redemption is God paying the price so that Israel can be his bride, his wife, so that she can enjoy his dignity and worth and value, so that she can be the apple of his eye. Passover is about redemption. What's Passover about? It's a huge deal, isn't it? Deliverance, purification, redemption. These are big words, big ideas for a big God. It's an event that's worth remembering, an event that determines who God's people are and how they should respond to him. And like the people do here in verse 27, what's the appropriate response to all this? They worship. Do the very thing that God wanted them to do. It's a huge deal that should be remembered and celebrated by Jewish people for the generations to come as a lasting ordinance. A couple of times it says that, doesn't it? It's an event to involve all the people, every age, every station, as a community chosen by God, delivered, purified, and redeemed. That's what Passover is about. And it's incredible. It really is wonderful. You just reflect on what it must have been like to be an Israelite living through that. And just your entire life is oppression and misery and suffering. And God delivers you and he purifies you and he redeems you in this amazing way. But God has something bigger and better in store. And we're going to get to think about and remember and celebrate that in just a few minutes. Let's sing our next hymn, number 7. No, not 781. It's 873. 873. O God of Bethel, by whose hand your children.